Asterisk, asterisk, he wasn't supposed to say it. He knew that. Every person in that studio knew it. Asterisk, the producers, the assistants, even the woman fixing his mic. Asterisk, they all knew the unspoken rule. Don't talk about Jesus. Not on this network. Not in this interview. Not today. But Jonathan Roumie, he didn't flinch. Because when the moment came, the question that was never supposed to be asked, he answered with something they weren't ready for, and the world watched. Frozen. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. This is not the story of a scandal. Asterisk. It's not the kind of story you'll see plastered on tabloids or whispered in gossip blogs. Asterisk. No. This is the story of a man. Asterisk. A man who stood at the edge of the spotlight and chose not to hide in the shadows. Asterisk. A man who, when given every reason to stay silent, spoke, and when he did, it shook the room. Jonathan Roumie wasn't born into fame. He wasn't handed a platform. Asterisk. He built it brick by brick, prayer by prayer. You might know him best as Jesus from The Chosen, the hit series that's taken the world by storm, but long before the crowds, before the red carpets and award shows. Asterisk. Jonathan was just another actor, praying for his next role, struggling, broke. Alone, he used to get down on his knees in a tiny New York apartment, crying out for work, for purpose, for God to show up. And when he finally did, it wasn't with fortune, it was with fire. Been invited on a national morning show. Asterisk. Big network, big audience, big expectations, and the usual pre-show drill started. The makeup chair, the bullet points, the list of what to say, and what not to. You can talk about the series, they told him. Talk about your process. Asterisk. Talk about the fans. Asterisk. But steer clear of the religious stuff. Okay. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I play Jesus. How do I not talk about him? Asterisk. The producer smiled, polite but firm. Asterisk. You know what we mean. Just don't preach. Keep it light. He nodded. But inside, he was crumbling. Asterisk. Because the truth was, there was no separation. Not for Jonathan. Not anymore. This role had changed him. See, when he took on the role of Jesus, he didn't just wear a costume. He became someone else. He found faith in the script. Asterisk. Conviction in the silence between takes. Peace in the prayers, whispered off camera. He wasn't just playing the Son of God. He was beginning to walk with him. For real. But now he was here, about to go live. Millions watching, and a voice in his head whispering, play it. Safe. Asterisk. Don't risk it. Asterisk. You'll ruin everything. He looked around, the cameras, the countdown, the flashing red light. Asterisk. And the host smiled. Jonathan, your performance in The Chosen is just magnetic. I mean, people are calling you the best portrayal of Jesus ever. What's your secret? Asterisk, asterisk. And right there in that one fragile second, he had a choice. Say the approved answer, or say the truth. My secret. He looked straight into the camera. It's not me. Silence. It's Jesus. The host blinked. A faint smile cracked. Asterisk. Oh, you mean like the character, the method acting? Jonathan shook his head. No, I mean, the real Jesus. He changed my life. And everything I do now, it's for him. There it was. He said it, and for a moment, the air left the room. The host looked off. Camera, a producer gestured wildly behind the glass. The teleprompter froze. Jonathan kept going. Not angry, not loud. Asterisk. Just real. Asterisk. I know I'm not supposed to talk about this, but I can't separate the role from the reality anymore. Playing Jesus taught me how to follow him. And if I'm honest, I care more about that than my career. You could hear a pin drop. Asterisk. Backstage. Panic. Phones ringing. Sponsors texting. Someone whispered, cut his mic, but it was too late. The moment had already happened, and the world, it noticed that clip hit social media like wildfire. Millions of views in hours. Some called it brave, some called it reckless. Asterisk. But no one called it fake because you could feel it. The trembling in his voice, the cost behind the confession. This wasn't PR. This wasn't performance. This was a man on fire with something bigger than fame. Later that night, Jonathan sat alone in his hotel room. He expected the fallout, the angry calls, the cancelled interviews, but instead, his phone buzzed, and buzzed again. And again. Thank you for saying what we couldn't. Asterisk. I was losing my faith, but you reminded me who Jesus is. Asterisk. I was watching with my daughter. She asked about God for the first time. Jonathan broke down, not because of fear, but because of faith. Asterisk. Because somehow, speaking the name they tried to silence, lit something real. He never expected to become the face of a movement. Asterisk. He was just trying to be honest. Asterisk. But in that honesty, he started a ripple. Actors, musicians, students, asterisk, people across the world started posting their own declarations. Asterisk. I'm not ashamed of Jesus. Asterisk. I choose faith over fear. Asterisk. I'm done being silent. And the networks, they couldn't stop it. You can't unring a bell. Asterisk. You can't put out a fire once it's burning in hearts. Months later, Jonathan was asked to speak at a faith conference. He stood before a crowd of thousands, but this time, there were no restrictions, no silent producers, no off-limits topics. Asterisk. Just him and the truth. He looked out over the sea of faces and said, I almost stayed silent. I almost let fear write the script, but Jesus didn't stay silent when it came to me. He didn't hold back his love. So how could I? The room erupted, but he didn't bask in it. He just smiled, eyes wet, hands lifted, whispers on his lips. Thank you, Jesus. So why does this matter? Because we're living in a time where truth feels optional, where belief is branded as offensive. Asterisk, where faith is fine as long as you keep it private. Asterisk, but what if private faith isn't enough? Asterisk, what if your voice is the one someone else needs to hear? Jonathan Roumie was never trying to start a revolution. Asterisk, he was just answering a question with the truth. But that truth, it shattered ceilings. It reminded us that sometimes the most radical thing you can do is stand, even if your voice shakes, even if the world says don't, even if it costs you everything, because silence may be safe, but it's not faithful. So here's the question for you. Asterisk, when your moment comes. Asterisk, when the mic is live. Asterisk, when the eyes of the world turn to you. Asterisk, what will you say? Asterisk, will you freeze? Asterisk, will you fold? Asterisk, or will you speak the name that changes everything? Because the world doesn't need another polished performance. Asterisk, it needs truth. It needs light. It needs someone to say the name and mean it. Asterisk, just like Jonathan did. Just like you can. Just like we must. Jesus, he wasn't supposed to say it, but he did. And that changed everything. Asterisk, asterisk.